Hey everybody, welcome back to the Gregtech Community Pack series for episode 11. Today we are tackling the LUV Age, with the big first milestone being the assembly line. In the last episode we set up our beautiful chemical processing lines for primarily PBI, and as we can see we're stocked up on 100 buckets of it. This episode's going to be a pretty dry one. We are literally just going to focus on the assembly line just to set us up before we get into the real grind of the ludicrous voltage age. So with all that being said, let's begin. So the first task on the episode agenda today is to make 4 new blast furnaces to passive 4 spicy new resources. We need niobium titanium, samarium, rhodium plated palladium, and HSSS. These are all required in the LUV Age for wires, motors, machine casings, and all of the other components made in the assembly line. So it's best to get these on passive as quickly as we can. Okay, with the blast furnaces done, we have the samarium coming into our applied energistic system, and now we need to set the recipe. Samarium is basically only used in long rods, which are used for all motors LUV and above, and then we need an IV polarizer to polarize the rods. One of the biggest bottlenecks for our base at the moment is our mixing setups. We're currently running 3 EV and 3 high voltage mixers. Not in this arrangement, of course. I've just stripped these all out of the base so we can see how many bloody mixers we have on different circuits. I think it's time we make the large mixer so that we can make all of this go away. Psst. Psst. Hey. Psst. Hey. Do you guys want to see me waste a lot of resources and a lot of time? You do? Alright. Let me show you how I made the electric implosion compressor. So, first I made 2 insane voltage field generators, which is already stupidly expensive. But then I used almost 200 tungsten steel to make the machines. And then I used 2 CPM circuits to make this stupid electric implosion compressor. That doesn't even do it electrically, it's just faster. It still uses TNT. I'm generally pretty used to mindlessly expensive recipes these days when it comes to Gregtech, but this one was ridiculous for no benefit whatsoever. Not only is it bigger in 5x5x5 compared to the 3x3x3, but it takes field generators, ZPM circuits for a multi-block that effectively provides you no benefit whatsoever over its normal counterpart. That being said, I'm still going to keep it. I think it kind of looks a bit cooler than the other one, but I just wish there'd be more functionality for it. That's probably my biggest problem with it, is that it has no purpose in the game. There is no reason to upgrade to it, it is just a useless upgrade. Unlike the large mixer, which can parallelize the bending machine, the wire mill, the extruder, the lathe, The assembler, it can't parallelize. You cannot put a parallel hatch on the implosion compressor. So there is actually no reason to get this other than it is very fast. It doesn't even provide you with more of the gems. So no matter which machine you do this conversion in, you will always get 4 to 3. You will always lose 25%. And you will always have a 25% chance of getting dark ashes, because it just doesn't matter. There is 0 point to this machine. Well, that's Gregtech for you anyway. Let's make the assembly line now. I'd love to show you more of a time-lapse of the assembly line components being completed, but unfortunately for you, I started these and went to bed because it took about 2.5 hours for these components to fully craft up. If we look at requesting the same amount of the assembly line controllers, we can see that the biggest sinks here were 21 nether stars, 4,800 platinum wire. We need to make 120 qubit CPUs. The total circuit demand is massive, 286 extreme circuit boards. But with my usual bitching out of the way, we finally crafted the controller. It took a while, but we actually have all of the components. And now the multi-block is formed. We'll do the maintenance. And now we need to encode the recipes and set the data hatch. So with the assembly line requiring so many input buses and hatches to be filled, what I've decided to do is use an advanced buffer with 4 tanks for 4 input buses and with 16 item slots so that we're able to fully fill up a recipe into a buffer and then send them using Gregtech pipes all the way through the machine. And remember, we need to place a dual interface on this so fluids and items can be sent through. We're going to be using this one for a while, so I'll put some pattern expansion cards in there to have a full 36 patterns. I've made some EV components to pull the items out, so we'll place the conveyor on top for the items, and we'll place the pump on the side for the fluids, and the pipes are all plugged in, and now we're going to use PVC item pipes for their high throughput. And then we need to get them back into the AE system for the request to fill, so we're going to use an interface. And I believe this is how we're going to set the patterns. We have set up everything here. We'll send the fluids through as well. This should all work. But when we look at the recipe for the assembly line, we see that we do need a data stick and it requires research. And now I've batched up a few data sticks. We have our elite scanner here. So I believe we place the data stick in there and we can scan the motor. It'll take 15 seconds. And now we have the data stick containing the LUV motor, and I've been told that you should make backups of these. Yep, copied. Cool. We can place a data stick in the hatch, place our pattern into the interface, and now we should be able to request an electric motor. You can see everything all there. Let's request. And we've been stuck on these nuggets for a while, and it's because I'm not perfect. I made a mold for the nuggets rather than an extruder shape. Okay, here we go. Round 2. Alright, there we go. It's been sent. And the machine is working. It takes... Whoa. That's really cool. My goodness me. And it's done. Oh, thank goodness. I was under the assumption that it was going to consume the data sticks. Alright, that makes life so much easier if it's not going to consume them. So we'll still make copies, but we don't need to continually mass produce data sticks. And we are now the proud owners of an LUV electric motor. So, what's next? Well, I think the next thing we're going to do is we're going to try and just increase our ability to autocraft with this packaged processing terminal. We'll also upgrade energy hatches. We'll make sure we set patterns for those. We'll set recipes for all of the LUV components, so we'll research the IV components and then we'll craft them. And I think we'll make the LUV scanner. And now we have all of the components ready to be scanned. And now let's copy all of them just in case. Oh no. Oh no. I really hope that that's... Fuck. Well, that's really dumb of me. I guess I have 12 Wow, look, 13 of them now. Can I override it? I don't really want to test that out with something I don't have a spare of. Oh well, 12 spares. Okay, let's be smart about this then. There we go. Now we don't accidentally duplicate everything. Okay, that's the recipe for the LUV emitter. That's the recipe for the LUV sensor. Can't set the recipes for the other components yet because we don't have the extended pattern. And there we go, set the recipes. So now, honestly, we should be able to request the extended pattern terminal. Never mind, one of them worked. This is a really beautiful animation for the assembly line. I'm glad they added it. And with the crafting being done, we have our extended processing terminal. That's given us 64 blank patterns. Not so useful, but that's okay. And here we are. So now we can finally set the recipe for the rest of the components. Is it the pump? Oh, it doesn't have fluids. Can we add fluids to it? No. That's annoying. Okay, I wonder if this will work. And 250 liters of lubricant. Okay, it looks like it could work. Let's just make sure everything gets crafted up. I believe it's 15 seconds for the motor to be crafted, and then we'll see the pump. Okay, this looks like it's actually worked. And it has. That's absolutely insane. Alright. So now we can set all of the recipes for the LUV components, the conveyor, the piston, the robot arm, and we're officially into the LUV Age. And while we're at it, I think it's time we upgrade our armor as well by going to the Quarktech set. So with the new armor set absolutely dripping us the hell out, I think we should have a really cool iPad to go along with it. So let's request the Prospector and wait another 2 hours or so. And now we can watch Subway Surfers gameplay and find ores all at the same time. And with the assembly line being fully produced now and fully operational, we've managed to be able to craft these new master parallel control hatches which allow 16 recipes each. This is 4 times better than our previous hatches, and we can just request them. They're relatively expensive. It's relatively expensive and time consuming, but the fact that we can now quadruple our productivity, especially on ore processing, is wonderful. So let's just request another one. And you might be looking at our terminal and wondering why it looks so different now. And that's because I've used a view cell, which is very handy, especially when you're using fluid crafting. You'll see that there are no more fluids in the way of our applied energistics system, and we can only see items. If I take the view cell out, we can see all of our stupid little drops of fluid, which we can already access here. We really don't need to have them in both terminals. So in the view cell, all I've done is I've placed in one of the drops of any fluid. I've put a fuzzy card so that it gets all of the drop of fluids, and then an inverter card so that it makes sure that it blocks the viewing of all of these items. So we take it out, and then we can just place it in here, and we have a nice clean applied energistics terminal. And I've also learned of the OR dictionary storage buses, which I think we're going to make. The OR dictionary storage bus is going to allow me to automate OR processing a hell of a lot more than I normally do. Right now, I'm using stocking input buses with our centrifuged ores for the macerator, but this is already full and none of these ores are here. There's way more than that. So if we use the OR dictionary storage bus, it's going to allow us to input into a bus with the centrifuged ore dictionary, just like our old ore processing system does. So to get this macerator working automatically, we're just going to place our storage bus. And luckily for me, I have the old OR dictionary tag stored in a Word document. So I know that for the centrifuged ores, we need to say crushed, centrifuged with the wildcard symbol, so that all centrifuged ores, any of them, will be sent straight into here. We can place the bus and we can just watch and hope that they fill in. There we go. Please. Good. Insert. Oh. I see. Need to make sure that it's high priority so that any new things go in there. Okay. So because it's a storage bus, it can't take out of an initial system. So our test is we have a stack of glauconite sand ore. I've never heard that one before. And I'm going to put it into the system, and because that bus is set on high priority, it should automatically go into the macerator. And it does. That is absolutely perfect. Now we should just be able to place in the centrifuge, and it automatically goes in. So I can clear this stocking bus. And now the macerator is pretty much going to automatically run. That's very handy. And because there are ores we actually need to keep in special forms, such as galena ore for the indium processing, we're going to filter them out into frame drawers and lock them, but we have to set them to higher priority than we set for the OR dictionary storage buses. So what we'll do is we'll set them to 2000 priority, and then we will partition the storage here for galena and sphalerite, and then we can place in a storage upgrade and lock the drawer. And we'll obviously have space for 2 more ores in there. I know that we will also want to filter out sheldonite for the platinum line, and I'm sure something else when it comes to it. But for now, let's just get the sheldonite set up. So we go here. So we need to send purified sheldonite into the chemical reactor. So then we'll take purified sheldonite, priority 2000. And we will, well, we can't lock it yet, but when that fills up with 1 bit of sheldonite, we'll lock it. And so we've kind of achieved the main goal of this episode, which is the assembly line, but it's kind of a bit short, so I did just want to explain one more thing that we're going to tackle next episode. And that is the Naquada chain. Now, it is a little bit daunting, because it's kind of the final chemical tier that we need to do before we get to sterilize growth medium. And it gets us a few key resources, so we can make Naquada alloy, which is final tier. We don't need to worry about that yet. It gets us trinium and Naquadria. I believe Naquadria is used in UV components, and it is. And trinium is going to be used for our fusion reactor and blast furnace coils. So these will allow us to smelt pretty much everything in the game. They're the final tier coils. Well, they're the second final tier coils. We have tritanium as the final tier. And so I've set up the area that we're going to process Naquada in. It is located semi-centrally to the base. We're not that sprawling, so it's over here in the southern quarter of our base, near our fluid handling and assembly line. The first few steps are we have to automate hydrofluoric acid, antimony trifluoride, and then fluoroantimonic acid. And then this is used in a chemical reactor with Naquada dust, and we'll get some Naquada solution and Naquadria, as well as some titanium out of this. We then have 4 blast furnaces for the 4 different resources, which is titanium, enriched Naquada, Naquada, and tritium. We'll need 2 centrifuges to handle the impure solutions and the acidic enriched solutions. We'll have distillation towers for the enriched waste, and then we have 2 mixers to make them acidic. We'll have our terminals here, and then an electrolyzer for the gallium and barium sulfate. And so this small building will be our Naquada production line, similar to our platinum line. This will run passively as long as we supply it with regular Naquada dust. And that's really the final hurdle for us before we manage to get to funny Gregtech donuts and fusion power. So our nitrobenzene setup is kind of on its last legs. And once we get tritium, we then have access to the fusion reactor Mark 1. And that will get us europium. And europium allows us to make the crystal circuits. And those will take us to the ultimate voltage, which will be fusion reactor 2, and then growth medium, and so on. We are starting to get quite close to our ultimate battery and to the end goal of the series, but we still have a lot of work to do. And next episode, we're going to be setting up the Naquada chain, and we'll see if we can get our first fusion reactor. But for the meantime, we're going to end the episode there. A little bit shorter today, but that's just because there was a lot of idle time, a lot of time spent crafting this god-awful machine. But now we have a really cool assembly line, so I guess that's pretty neat. So not much has changed around the base other than that. We have new drip, we've got an iPad. So if you love Gregtech just as much as I do, then make sure to drop a like and subscribe to check out the rest of the series. We're getting into the real meat and potatoes here, and I look forward to seeing you all next time. Bye!